Xisuma here, and welcome to another video. Today we're doing another chapter inside of Hermitcraft Season Clockwork. We are doing episode 11, chapter 5. My bad. We are finishing episode 11, and then we'll probably finish episode 12 in 2 parts because those are probably the longest chapters. Chapter 6 is the longest one that I've written, to be fair. So, that's probably going to be its own chapter, so chapter 7 is going to probably be its own chapter. Depending how long that thing is, but we'll see. But yeah, so far we're doing good. I am trying not to get my foot to fall asleep. Get my feet. Don't want my feet to fall asleep. Okay? I'm sitting in an awkward position. I'm not sitting in an awkward position now. Let's just get on with the story. If you haven't read any of the other chapters, be sure you do so. And yeah, let's hope my foot doesn't fall asleep again. Chapter 5. Xisuma woke up the next morning to find himself in a room he didn't recognize right away. His mind confused where he was and why he wasn't at home, in his bed. It didn't take long for him to come to him, remembering he'd agreed to spend the night at Noah's cabin so they could give the girls some privacy. He'd had a few moments with them, discovering the other girl as Pearl. Both girls were relatively close friends, so doing practically everything together, not seeming to mind if Noah was nearby. He climbed out of bed and went over to the chest and opened it, taking what he needed for his journey home. Noah had spent the entire rest of the day fixing the machine and had advised him to wait until morning before returning back to its world. He'd been reluctant to, but he knew he needed to rest. He needed to make sure he was prepared and that he didn't forget anything that might be of use for them down the line. He had to be ready for anything. Once he gathered everything he could, he went towards the door, opening it quickly as he looked around the hallway. He didn't hear or see anything out of the ordinary as he closed the door behind him and headed for the front door. Right before he was about to open the door, he heard something familiar in the distance. It was very much distinguishable through the silent air as he heard the sound of rotors chopping in the air as it, too, took flight, getting closer as it roared. Unease filled him as he wondered whether or not it was Mr. A's helicopter or someone else's that had decided to use it by random chance. He didn't know whether or not there were more settlements in the area, just a small little campsite, you could say. Just a small little campsite, you could say. Xisuma looked over his shoulder, back to the hallway, where he knew Noah most likely would be, unless he had gone back to the portal to double-check some things early in the morning. He needed to check. He ran back into the hallways, opening all the doors to the rooms, finding them all to be empty. Noah had disappeared, and he wasn't sure when. Without hesitation, he ran back towards the front door and opened it. The sound of the copter almost deafening his ears as he saw it above, hovering as if it was waiting for something. He could see Chem and Pearl coming out of their cabins, as an expression of confusion and annoyance on their faces. The YouTuber watched as ropes began to fall, landing a few inches off the ground as instinct kicked in. He knew he could probably get out of here safely on his own, but he didn't want to leave the girls to fend for themselves, even though he knew very well they could. "Run to the trees!" Xisuma shouted at them, over the roar of the machine. They seemed to have just about heard him, as they both ran towards the tree line, Xisuma following them, glancing back to see a half a dozen of Mr. A's men landing on the ground. They had a chance to escape. He could hear some of the men shouting for them to stop, but he knew better than to listen to them. He wasn't about to get himself captured while so close to getting home. They ran for what felt like an eternity before the three of them hid behind some shrubbery, all of them panting for air as they waited in silence to ensure no one was chasing them. "You guys okay?" Xisuma asked him slowly. "Yeah, we're fine," Jem told him simply, with a smile. "That was a pretty rude wake-up call, though." "Yeah," Xisuma said with a chuckle. "What about Noah? Where is he at?" Pearl asked Xisuma calmly. I don't know. I'd assume he'd went to do some final checks in the portal, the YouTuber replied. We could go over there and check, though that's probably where the men would expect us to go. What do they even want anyway? Jim asked, her tone somewhat annoyed and flustered. Nothing good, the YouTuber replied with a frown. It's hard to tell, really. That's why we need to be careful. We will, don't worry, Pearl assured him. We need to make sure you can get yourself home first. What about you two? Xisuma asked nervously. The men will keep looking for you, and if we can't find Noah, if he's not there, then we can tag along, Jem said quickly. Knowing the cause, it's probably better to stick with you, seeing as there will be a lot of people there to help. She's not wrong. All right, the YouTuber nodded as his head slowly as he got to his feet. Let's get going then. The three of them trekked through the trees, Xisuma cautiously glancing over his shoulder every now and again, checking to make sure none of Mr. A's men were getting close to them. So far, there were no signs of them, even though they could certainly hear the faint shouts of some of the men, making their presence clearly known. Were they trying to scare them, or was it just a distraction to lure them into a trap? It didn't take them very long until they arrived at their destination, Xisuma stepping out into the little clearing with the portal, its bright white light glowing radiantly. Noah was nowhere to be found. In fact, it was unusually quiet. Should we just go through? Jim asked quietly. Her hushed tone was soft and firm. I don't know. It could be a trap. Xisuma frowned as he walked over to the portal and checked the cords, changing them to fit it on. Seems fine to me. I do hope Noah's okay, Jim admitted nervously, as she looked over her shoulder warily. No sign of any of the men yet. We need to decide what to do before they get here, Pearl said hurriedly. We're literal sitting ducks right now. That you are, my dear, the voice said from behind them, as the three of them swirled around to face the newcomer. The man was tall and lanky, his eyes dark and hazy as his smile widened. What do you want? Where's Noah? Jem demanded firmly. You won't have to worry about him anymore. We already took care of him, the man said casually. So you three. You know we won't go without a fight, Pearl said defiantly, not looking all too happy about the fate of Noah. No doubt the man had made a strong friendship with the two of them. The man laughed. We're not here to kill you. Mr. A wants to see you after all, such strong young women with powerful auras. We're not going, Jen said confidently. The man's smile remained and he shook his head. That's too bad. You don't have a choice. We can't go through the portal, Xisuma offered, pointing back to it. We'll just follow you through, the man sneered. How many of you are there? Pearl tested firmly. Quite a few, the man mused as he waved his arms around. Over a dozen men appeared out of the shadows as Xisuma watched them nervously. Suddenly an idea sprung to his mind. You could try to follow us, but it won't be easy, Xisuma said defiantly, catching the girl's eyes as he nodded his head. Do you really want to make this more difficult on yourself? The man asked. I have more power on my side than here, Xisuma replied confidently. You won't find it easy in the slightest. I take that as a personal challenge, YouTuber, the man stated with a cold smile. You have 5 seconds to make your choice, and after that, I'm coming for you. Xisuma nodded. Seems reasonable. Do we go? Jim asked him in a hushed voice. Now. Xisuma agreed. He stepped backwards into the portal before the man had a chance to start counting, hoping the girls would be right behind him. You don't like that laugh now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any thoughts, questions, theories on what's going to happen next. No, I'm not going to continue on to episode, the next chapter, because it's a long one, and I don't want this to be 20 minutes long. So, yeah. That's too bad. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Whatever that might be.